Chapter 3, Section 5 is 3-2 from the book, and we start with these 5 different theorems about these 5 different angles we talked about yesterday. First one is corresponding angles postulate, and we sometimes call this PCA. And we call it PCA because we start out with parallel lines, and then we can say the corresponding angles are congruent. So our hypothesis is if P is parallel to Q, if these two lines are parallel, corresponding angles are congruent, and I'm going to say angle 4 is congruent to angle 2. And we could use 4 and 2, you could use 3 and 1, you could use 8 and 6, or you could use 7 and 5. The next one, alternate interior angles theorem, is PAIA. Stands for parallel lines, alternate interior angles. So if P is parallel to Q, alternate interior angles are congruent. So angle 2 is congruent to angle 7, or you could also use 3 and 6. Then we have alternate exterior angles, which we call PAEA. If we have parallel lines, alternate exterior angles are congruent. So if P is parallel to Q, then we can say angle 1 is congruent to angle 8, or you could use 4 and 5. Same side interior angles will be PSSIA, and that says same thing. If P is parallel to Q, as we look at our same side interior angles, we have a slightly different situation here. Look at angle 3 and look at angle 2. Those are not congruent. This one is an obtuse angle, and that one is an acute angle. 2 and 3 add to 180, or they are supplementary. And the same thing for the same side exterior angles, PSSEA. If we have parallel lines, so if P is parallel to Q, then angle 1 plus angle 4 equals 180. And this question down here kind of shows us what's going on here. We're going to find all of these angles. I know it only asks us to find 2, but I'm going to find all of them. This one will be 125 because they're vertical. And we should be given in here that these lines are parallel. So if these lines are parallel, these would be corresponding. So that would be 125. These would be corresponding. So that would be 125. And these other angles, if you do 180 minus 125, all of those other angles will be 55 degrees. And that shows you that these 8 angles that are formed, they are all either the number or 180 minus that number. So right here, angle 1 is 125 degrees, and angle 2 is 55 degrees. And again, I'm going to do the same thing here. These will all be 118 because we have vertical angles and corresponding. And then 180 minus 118 is 62. So angle X is 118 degrees, and QRS right here is 62 degrees. At the top of the next page, we are asked to find all of the angle measures. This is 130. Angle 5 is 130. Angle 4 is 130. And angle 1 is 130. 180 minus 130 is 50. So these angles right here will all be 50 degrees. Letter B, this is 70. That will be 70. Corresponding angles will be 70. And that one is 70. 180 minus 70 is 110. So these other angles will all be 110 degrees. Next couple of questions have a little bit of algebra in here. These two things are corresponding angles. So 2x minus 135 equals x minus 30. Solving that, you're going to subtract x from both sides, and you have x minus 135 equals negative 30. And then you add 135 to both sides, and you have x equals 105. Now be careful, we've done all this work and this is all correct, but we were asked to find angle EDG, which is right here. So we need to do 105 minus 30, which is 75 degrees. Letter B, it's kind of hard to tell. We are looking at those alternate interior angles. If lines are parallel, alternate interior angles are congruent. So this becomes 2x plus 10 equals 3x minus 15. Solving that, you will subtract 2x from both sides, and that becomes 10 equals x minus 15. From there you add 15 to both sides, and x equals 25. Now we were asked to find angle ABD. So 2 times 25 is 50, plus 10 is 60 degrees. Letter C, cross that off right there. These are corresponding angles. So 4x plus 22 equals 5x. Solving that, you are going to subtract 4x from both sides. And when you do that, you end up with x equals 22. And we are asked to find angle ECF. 5 times 22 is 110 degrees. And then 180 minus 110 is 70. So angle ECF is 70 degrees. The next one, these two are not equal. Those two, again, are not equal. And if you take a look at those, those two add to 180. So you will have 3x plus 10 plus 7x plus 40 equals 180. 3x plus 7x is 10x. 10 plus 40 is 50. Solving that, you are going to subtract 50 from both sides. And you have 10x equals 130. And when you divide both sides by 10, x equals 13. And in this case, for some reason, they only asked us to find x. If they wanted us to find an angle measure, we would then take it and put it right back in there. E, same thing, and again we should be given these lines are parallel. Those lines are parallel. These are same side interior angles. So those two angles add to 180. 6x plus 8x is 14x. 25 plus 15 is 40. And we subtract 40 from both sides. 14x equals 140. And then x equals 10. And again, all we were asked to find is x. So there's our answer. Letter F. Again, we should be given the parallel lines. These are alternate exterior angles. So 3x plus 10 equals 5x minus 8. From there, you subtract 3x from both sides. And you have 10 equals 2x minus 8. Adding 8 to both sides, you have 18 equals 2x, and x equals 9. One more page here, we're looking at a couple proofs. And as we look at our proofs, we start with our given. We have two sets of parallel lines. A is parallel to B, and C is parallel to D, which is given. And whenever they give us parallel lines, we're going to say something about some angles. And we've got a nice hint here, PCA. If we have parallel lines, corresponding angles are congruent. Well, that's one pair of corresponding angles. And then right here, we have a second pair of corresponding angles. So 1 is equal to 2, and 2 is equal to 3. So now we can say 1 is congruent to 3 by substitution. And I'm going to abbreviate substitution. Letter B, we are given M is parallel to N, and N is parallel to P. Well, we're going to look at this N and P first of all. These angles right here are called alternate interior angles. So angle 1 is congruent to angle 2 because of parallel lines, alternate interior angles. We also know these lines are parallel, so we can say 2 is congruent to 3 because we have parallel lines, corresponding angles congruent. And now, since we have 1 congruent to 2, 2 congruent to 3, we can say 1 is congruent to 3 by substitution. And you can abbreviate that if you want. And proof C, We have AB is parallel to CD. BC is parallel to DE, which is a given. Well, if these two lines are parallel, you can say 1 is congruent to 3. And if these two lines are parallel, you can say 3 is congruent to 2. And both of those are corresponding angles. Parallel lines, corresponding angles. Well, since 1 is congruent to 3, 3 is congruent to 2, we can say 1 is congruent to 2 by substitution.